I'm tired of starting this podcast by myself. Ryan, you have control.
Nice one. Well, morning, boys, and welcome to the Friday show.
Good morning.
Good start, bud.
Yeah.
Good start.
Also, get in there.
I don't think we need the host anymore.
No.
quite honestly.
No.
I'm upskilling on this thing.
That was my way of putting... So, do you want to explain the morning that we've had?
Jesus, do we really want to relive the morning that we've just had?
Man.
It's been pretty intense, but it's kind of adrenaline fueled, hey? Started off by, we all got here 10 to 6.
Yeah.
With the intention that it would be a half an hour setup. There'd be enough time for a quick coffee, a bit of a chillax, and then we'd get the show on the road. But it's been anything but that.
Yeah, it's been... obviously, with the different camera angles and that now, it's made life a little bit more complicated. So it's still a bit of a learning process.
But wow, we only have 4 cameras for the Bryan podcast.
Yeah. 2 months ago, we only had 1.
We had 1, now we have 4.
Yeah, it's one of these things, but it's quite it's a hell of a learning curve. And it makes me really respect what you see on some of these shows on television.
Yeah.
Because, man...
It also makes you... not respect some of the shows you see on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting there slowly, but nice start there, right?
Yeah.
Next week, Brett.
Well done.
Be ready.
Well done.
Cool, man.
So, guys, I think you'll agree. A lot of the news this week, for me anyway, I'm picking up stuff that it shows the dire state of the South African tourism market or travel market. And I'm picking up sort of positive vibes about what's happening overseas. There's talk of summer travel in Europe, and vaccinations are a hot topic, and there's a lot of things going on. There was a very good article in the Business Insider, link in the show notes, well worth a read. But basically all the airlines and their sort of restrictions on South Africa. I mean, we can go through the list, but it's quite a damning article for tourism in South Africa still. Local domestic travel is not exactly booming to ridiculous levels, and we don't even have a national carrier taking people out the country. I mean, Qatar, we now rely on Qatar to take us to the Middle East. It's the only way to get there. And it's not good, and it affects a huge amount of other markets. So, I'm sure we can tie in lots of different things to this particular article. But let's just start off with, we'll get to a bit of SAA stuff later and the whole Saks debacle later. But right now it's actually about tourism in this country and the effect that it's having on all of us. We all want to travel, we all want to. But until these vaccinations are rolled out, and until the airlines start coming back, and until this momentum is now shooting in the other direction, we're in a poor state in terms of international travel.
Yeah, I certainly think, after having read that article and checked out a few other things, next week, and probably well until the end of the month, it's going to be interesting because these 3 majors, KLM, BA, and what's the other one?
Who are you thinking
Virgin.
of? Virgin.
It's Emirates, BA, and KLM that are looking to return to South Africa by the end of April.
Well, mid-April, they're
mid-April,
saying,
yeah. Which will obviously have a big impact on our figures and the tourism. But
yeah, go for it, bud.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's just if we need those guys to start getting back to South Africa if we stand a chance at tourism being able to increase. Like you say, people want to travel, and
what's worse now, the thing now is that it's you want to travel but you can't. Go through the list. KLM has continued to come to South Africa. Fine. BA still with restrictions. Cathay, they suspended. When was it? In March. They intend to restart flights to Joburg. Later on. 30th of June, I think. We got a lot of friends, ex-colleagues there in Hong Kong. We were chatting to someone yesterday who was talking about one of our mates there flying for one of the cargo airlines. Been there for 6 months. He hasn't been home.
Yeah.
So it affects so many people around the world. And I had a bit of a a nice week actually, because I did a bit of a project. I'll actually talk about it later, but I made I made contact with a lot of people that I wasn't in contact with, and ex-friends and people that I know, but you lose touch, and I try to reconnect, and everyone is just feeling this disconnect from everyone else, because people are scattered around the world. And when you just read this list, I mean, KLM, BA, Virgin, Cathay, Qantas, Delta, Singapore, Etihad, Emirates, Ethiopian are flying here. Great. Qatar, obviously, as mentioned already, is a real. What would we do without Qatar right now? How the hell? You can make jokes about not having a national carrier, and this again, where how thankful we should be that we have a carrier like Airlink, and how important Airlink is right now, because they're a regional carrier, so they can take you to other countries and whatnot. And you you almost say, well, I wish Airlink flew long haul overseas. And with you look at all these flights happening lately with these narrow body jets, the 321 LRs flying for 10 hours and stuff like this. You're saying, Roger, please go and get yourself a 321 LR so you can fly us overseas.
Yeah. The challenge we faced, it's a lot deeper than just having a national carrier or not having one, or these airlines extending their exclusion, South Africa exclusion. 15th of April, it's probably going to go to 15th of May. As we heard last night on the SAA outer discussion that we all were part of, without vaccines, this is probably going to extend longer and longer and longer. I don't think, it's great to have Emirates, KLM and BA saying they're going to come through in the middle of April. Probably they're not going to, because the rest of the world is sitting around about 80% of the population vaccinated. Not every country, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
What are we sitting at? About 7 or 8%. So yeah, it's not going to happen as quick as I think we would love it to happen.
And they keep getting extended.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you can't count on it, and you lose trust in it. It gets extended to a certain date, and that date comes and it gets, pushed again. So it doesn't encourage travel. And it's quite clear until these vaccines happen. You see, Qatar had a flight the other day, fully vaccinated aircraft, including ground check-in staff, airport, everything. I think it was a flight to nowhere, there and back type of thing, but testing it out. And that's the way it's going.
Yeah.
No vaccine, no travel. It's quite clear it's going to happen. And we're in the worst position here. We don't have the vaccines. And we got no airlines coming in. Obviously, we've spoken about this second strain or fake strain, whatever you want to call it. But it's...
So what's happening is there's organizations which are... So there's one particular, Raw Africa. It's a safari company run by Deborah Comair. So she lives in Cape Town and New York. And she's now running these ultra luxurious epic trips into South Africa, Botswana, wherever it is. But I mean, this is ultra luxurious. I mean, a trip for 12 days is $125,000. So this is not cheap. But there's guarantees that everyone has been vaccinated. Every lodge has been vaccinated. All the individuals there. So everything, private jets, you obviously fly all the guys in with private jets. And there's no contact with anyone who hasn't had a vaccine. So this is what the thing, it's this niche market, which is now going to start emerging. And this is the first one I've seen. I got a little bit of an issue with where they say that they only focus on carbon neutral travel. If you're hiring your own private jet, there ain't nothing carbon neutral about that, but whatever. I mean, I think they've lost the plot on that one. Yeah. But this is the new way of doing things, where you have your local charter companies saying, okay, we desperately want business. Isn't this a great thing to say? She's like, everyone has been vaccinated, our lodges are sanitized, and put all that through, and there's going to be a private jet. I mean, there is a market.
There must be a tremendous amount of preparation that goes into all of that. I mean,
massive.
I can't even imagine how you even begin to organize and prove that everyone has been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Must be quite a story.
Well, that's where the passports are going to come in. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a niche market that's
Yeah.
going to pop up, but there's no question about it. And we just need to see what happens there. But yeah, a little bit of a damning report. It doesn't promote the country particularly well. And we were so poor at the beginning, I think, in South Africa by not making a bigger deal about the fact that you cannot call this second strain a South African variant. And that's had an impact.
It's had a
I
massive
spoke
impact.
to someone yesterday here at Cemair at the Sim Center. His son supposed to fly off to go work at Eva Air, and they sent a mail to say no one from South Africa is going there right now, so put that on hold. So yeah, it affects travel, it affects guys looking for jobs overseas, guys that actually got jobs, got in, but they can't actually get there. So this is a major, major problem. And obviously, the purpose of this podcast is certainly not to bring negative news. It's always based around a positive sign. But
it is a positive sign because every single one of us on the show are so eager, and our listeners are so eager to get things going again, get traveling. Because in South Africa, if you think of it, how much lockdown do we have? We have a curfew between 12 to 4. The rest of everything is open. We're operating as normal. So we want to be able to travel the rest of the world. But you talk to people in the UK, in the US, in Canada, Europe, they're in lockdown. So, as much as we want it, we've got this positive drive and push, let's get this done. We are actually fighting the world. And
well, you were saying this morning, you're speaking to some people that want to come to South Africa because of our relaxed, curfews
and every one of Cemair clients, I have a chat to them, and they're saying, "What are your numbers like?" And I have to follow the COVID numbers. And
COVID or subscribers? What are they after there?
No, subscribers.
Yeah,
no, definitely. That's it.
I think our subscriber numbers are more real than the COVID numbers.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Guys, we cannot say that word on the show.
Oh, geez.
You're going to get no downloads on this episode. But
just hit that magic button of yours on the pod tracker.
Yeah.
If you fly on Ethiopian, though, you might not get to the destination that you planned.
How come?
Do you see what happened with I think they had a cargo aircraft flying to Ndola?
When they landed at the wrong airport.
Landed at the wrong airport.
That was funny.
Yeah,
So
it happens.
it can. It's happened lots before. To airlines all over the world. But it's just one of those things.
Happened a few years back with Ryanair, I believe. And yeah, it does happen. But,
I wouldn't like to be the pilot flying that aircraft when it does happen, because that's a bit embarrassing. I mean, technology nowadays.
It's a bit of an egg on your face moment.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least there was a positive outcome at the end. They got airborne again and landed at the right airport. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, so they were obviously the first to land. That's at that Copperbelt, the new airport. So not even open yet.
At least they didn't go and load the airplane full of baggage and then let it fall on its tail.
That's
a story about an aircraft in Mozambique that happened to.
I think they need a new load master.
Yeah. Then the captain went to the toilet. But pretty.
Yeah.
Kenya Airways, they've suspended all flights to the UK with effect from April 9th. This is it's all political games. Big restriction. I think the UK put Kenya on the red list, and then Kenya come back and say, right, this is what we're doing to you guys. So it's all a give and take type of thing, and that's what you expect. It's all become a bit of a game, a bit of a joke, and
massive joke.
Yeah, and there's no. We can criticize IATA, and at the beginning, they were very, pro how we're going to open up the industry, and I think we even made a bit of fun about them on the show to say, well, you can post as many of those things as you want, but no one's doing anything. But at the end of the day, what can they actually do? They can make recommendations, and if the governments stick up their middle finger at those recommendations, then there's nothing that really can be done. So I also feel for them, and everyone's just doing their own thing. They haven't committed to health passports yet. It looks like it's going to go that way, but no one's really committed. Some countries are saying, no way, it's not going to happen. Other countries are saying, well, it has to happen. So there's just this crazy up in the air atmosphere, and it directly affects aviation. It's quite crazy. I think everyone else in other industries, look, everyone's taken a knock. Whether you're a plumber, whether you're an electrician, it doesn't matter. Everyone, because money's tight, people aren't spending. So everyone's taken a knock. But man, has aviation been hit, and the people involved, and not just financially. Like we said, stuck in Hong Kong for 6 months because you can't get home to your family. That's a major, major effect on your life. And we can't disregard stuff like that. It's massive. Yeah. So, you think about it financially, loss of job, but also, I mean, it's a different type of job that you are now doing. You're used to a commuting contract. You come back every 2 weeks. Even 2 weeks to someone working in another industry, that could be regarded as a long time away from home. Make it now 6 months or longer. Man, it becomes difficult.
I think it just adds to the stresses of the job as well. I mean, if you are a commuting pilot, first of all, you've got to worry about, can you get to and from home or work without having quarantine periods? Will you get to and from work without being forced into another lockdown? If you get stuck at home, can't get back to work, will you still have a job? Or if you get stuck at work, how long is it going to be till you see your family again? Man, it can't be all that enjoyable.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Not great.
But in saying all that, and this is very, like I started off today, I want to make it clear. For me, this is what I'm seeing from a South African side. But there has been lots of reports this week and a definite shift in attitude about aviation around the rest of the world. Delta on the weekend cancelled hundreds of flights because they're short of crew.
Yep.
Hundreds of flights were cancelled because they're short of crew. Now, apparently, the leadership pilots there, or management pilots and that, they've been talking about this for a long time, to say when they offered up the voluntary sort of packages to early retirement, they lost too many guys and girls. So now they're stuck with a shortage, and you know what it's like. People come and train. It doesn't happen overnight. Training takes a while. Yeah. So they've got to get all these pilots that have been at home, they've got to go for retraining, depending on what their manuals and that say. But there are only X amount of simulators around the world. There's only X amount of training captains, and that was their big issue. It's their training captains. A lot of the training captains were the older guys and girls. They're the ones that have resigned. So you cannot operate an airline without training captains, and we've seen that now with SAA. They never realized the whole you actually need
the
these
impact that this whole thing has caused. I mean, at Cemair here, I have airlines saying, please, geez, we're desperate, we've got to come next week for training. I'll say, I can help you in 2 months' time, because not only is it the sims are unavailable, but there's not enough instructors, and that is a massive thing. And then for an airline, especially some of the African airlines, they don't have their own ATO, so they can't do it themselves. So they rely on other organizations, and there's just not the capacity.
That's just where the uncertainty has caught everybody with their pants down. I mean, the guys are uncertain about how long the recovery will take, how long will aviation take to bounce back. I mean, obviously with the summer period in the Northern Hemisphere now, and with occasions like Easter weekend, there was a boom in the travel, especially with America being so widely vaccinated. People are up and about, so it's caught up with them quickly. It would be nice to see that sort of boom happen down here though as well.
Obviously, complexity on the Delta side. They've got such a diverse fleet of aircraft, so they operate almost every type of aircraft. So you need instructors for those specific aircraft, and it's a problem.
But you are going to have, like what with Southwest Airlines now, they've just put in an order for 100 737 MAX plus another option of 155 more.
That's huge.
So when you start 250, 260, 300 fleet of the same aircraft, that actually becomes an easier operational scenario when it comes to training.
It certainly does. There's no question about it. The issue comes in, like when they had the issue with the 737s.
Then
if you're
airline's
stuck with
Yeah. But that's not any that sort of positive news coming just from the States. There's a little bit of noise coming from the Emirates side as well, where it sounds like they're changing their tune on delaying the retirement of their 380s.
Correct.
Which is great news.
And then did a bit of article yesterday that came out about them possibly getting some 787s and A350s as well. So there's going to be an expansion and probably a very big rebound back on that side as well.
Yeah, and that Tim Clark talking about the 350s and 787s. Obviously, they're slightly smaller aircraft, but it opens up a whole whack of new opportunities. But interesting, and that came out of that talk, again, these long-range narrow-body aircraft, the 321 LRs and XLRs in particular, even the 73, the MAX, I mean, it's got a hell of a range on it. And this hub and spoke, platform that Emirates have benefited off for so many years, is that now under a bit of threat? He seems to say not so much for Dubai itself, but they are certainly throwing a cat amongst the pigeons here with what this aircraft can do. And it's quite remarkable. You see what Jet Blue are doing with their 321s. Jet Blue, they're totally reinventing their class of cabins. So their economy class experience, they've identified, they say it needs to change. If you're going to travel long haul on a narrow body aircraft, you've got to offer something else. So they've identified 3 areas. They say the dreaded center section, okay, which of course you don't have on a narrow body. Obviously that's not there. The assembly line chicken or beef is a problem, and the lack of connectivity. So they've added bloody fast Wi-Fi on board, and they've got like an option of meals, so you don't have to choose one or the other. You can take, it's like almost like a tapas mazet type of deal going on, but it's really nice. And they've opened up, one of my favorite things with flying on Air France was you could jump up at night, go into the galley, and they had left out all the snacks and drinks and everything. You didn't have to try and call a hostie to get something to drink. So they're going to have a sort of help yourself section. And it's really nice. And their business class, man, even on the narrow body, really nice flat beds, nicely boarded up, so lots of privacy. So these aircraft are changing the game, and it'll be very interesting to watch how many of these start to operate and where they're operating. I mean, this is to Heathrow. They're going to be using these aircraft. As we said, they've just done a departed Mozambique. Where did they?
Oh, they flew all the way to Cape Verde. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a trip, and that's on the LR. Never mind the XLR.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
What's happening in Polokwane?
Yeah,
nothing much. Airlink's not going
nothing
anymore.
Yeah, that's basically due because of lack of firefighting and stuff like that. So Airlink cancelled flights there straight away, as you would expect.
No doubt they'll get that fixed up quickly though, because it was the same in Mthatha
and Sun
couple
City.
of years ago. So, but Airlink, they've got the swing to sort that out, so that won't last long.
Well, I think Roger just needs to go and buy some firefighting equipment. And
He probably will.
He probably will. I think that's the
another
plan.
business model. I like it.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
But as I said, I did a bit of a project this week. When we did that show with the webinar with John Howell, with the pilots, and we're talking about LinkedIn and the value of your connections and your network and how careful you need to be about who you put in that network, and the importance of reviewing that network and saying, well, is this person adding value? It could be a family member, but if they're in a different industry and you're on a professional platform, then they may not be adding value on that platform.
Yeah.
So I took a little bit of a note out of Jordan Peterson's book. And, he says, ask someone for a favor so that he or she can ask you to do a favor in the future. So I shot out a few little mails this week, and I just said, can you do this one thing for me? And if there's anything I can do for you in the future, just sort of let me know. And the response was quite awesome and weird at the same time, because so many people that I had no idea were even watching us on the show sent me a really nice message. And I'm not talking about a, quick one-liner, like a really nice message to say, hey, love your show, love what you guys are doing, please keep it up. And, and a lot of these guys are the guys that are stuck overseas, like I spoke about at the beginning. And they're watching the show to get that, they miss the accents and stuff like that, and the bit of banter.
The accents are strong.
And but it was nice to make those connections with the people. But it does a wonderful thing, because it makes it quite clear who are your connections and who is your network, because it was a relatively small failure. There's no money involved or anything. It's simply just a little request. But if you're not going to get a response and you're not, then you kind of know, well, if I have to ask a big favor, I'm certainly not going to get it from this guy.
Yeah.
So if you want to clean out your LinkedIn connection book, that's not a bad thing to do. And I'm not saying it from the point of view where, go out and shoot 3,000 emails and then expect a response. Some people, can't respond right now, or whatever it might be. But it gave me a bit of a sense as to who our clientele is, who are the people listening to us, because you got no real idea. We know the people that comment every week and that, but who else are we trying to do this show for? So I did it just to see how we need to adjust things. In the past, if we talk about SAA too much, you might think, you guys are going to get sick about hearing about SAA. But the reality with SAA, what happens with them affects the entire country. And like it or not, there's a huge amount of pilots and a huge amount of staff involved there. So what happens with SAA is critically important. Started talking about that OTA hour last night. And Grant Back always talks so well. It was nice to hear Grant talk, and for the first time I've heard him talk, not talking to Jane from E-News.
Yeah.
So it was nice to hear. And I was quite surprised at some of the comments that were popping up during the show as well, because there's a definite divide about people that are pro having, not even having SAA back, but even pro just giving the pilots their severance packages and letting them go on their way. As we said, they are striking now so that they can be retrenched, so that they can walk away from the airline, go and start at their new jobs. During this little project this week, I was talking to one person who's in the waiting line for Safair, but can't actually go and fly there yet because still employed by Spuries. So they need to be retrenched so they can move on, and then that'll also allow SAA version 2 to start up again. So Grant and SAPA, they're not really fighting with anyone. They're just calling out the bullshit that everyone else is talking.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of bullshit.
It is.
That's exactly what it is. And it came out last night in that discussion. They are not here to blacklist the airline, not here to boycott the airline. ART is very keen to do that. But SAPA and Grant are saying, no, we're here to support. Just give us what we need here. And they know they're not going to walk away with 100% of their retrenchment package or whatever. Walk out with something, though, that then they are free to reapply. They probably won't get accepted. We understand that. But then they're free to go somewhere else. But in the meantime, they're absolutely in handcuffs. But they're wanting to work. They want to work with DPA, but clearly Gordon's not interested.
Yeah, there's just such a severe lack of interest and commitment from government. They're just not interested in listening to what the pilots have had to say with their suggestions or anything like that. So, the way I feel, I actually totally agree with Julius Kleinans. Boycott the whole setup. I really do. I mean,
he spoke a lot of sense last night.
I totally agreed with what he had to say, and I enjoyed his point of view. I mean, let the pilots go, give them their severance, and let them move on. But in my opinion, a lot of people feel differently, but South Africa doesn't need an SAA version 2. Government has proven time and time again how incompetent and incapable they are of actually running an airline. Look at SA Express, SAA, and the other one that's on the rocks as well. So boycott it. We don't need them, because I'm pretty sure Roger Foster and the likes of Safair are quite capable eventually of providing a decent long-haul service.
Well, are they holding back doing long haul because of potential version 2? Because they own the
question
routes.
was asked last night, is it possible, someone actually commented there, why don't the pilots just go and approach an investor and start their own airline? Well, like someone said, first of all, pilots aren't great businessmen.
No.
Secondly, it wouldn't easily just happen like it, because there's so much bureaucracy and bullshit that the government would stop and put in their way that it's not so easily done. So I think we're relying more on a setup like Airlink or Safair eventually being able to take that role. And I'd like to see that happen.
Oh, but look how lucky we are. Airlink are incredibly strong, and they're a very, very well run outfit.
Exactly.
They've grown strength to strength over the years, and they're a company that all South Africans can actually be very proud of from where they are. I mean, you go look at the apron, new aircraft sitting there, beautifully painted, and they're our national carrier. From a regional point of view, they're our national carrier. I'm a big Safair fan. I always have been. I like their brand. I like the way they do things. Every time I've flown with them, they always say it. They're always on time. So if I'm going to choose to fly someone, I fly with them. They're a great airline.
Exactly. And, there's this whole thing where people are saying, but without SAA, there's no scope for jobs or anything. There's this whole...
But there isn't scope for jobs on version 2 in any case.
No,
What
not
are
if
you cutting
you're
your
relying
fleet?
on taxpayers' money
But
as well.
But they're also cutting what the staff. Or how many were in SAA down to 800 odd?
Yeah.
A couple of thousand. So are you gonna spend and waste billions and allow government to steal how many more billions to save 800 jobs?
Yeah,
No, let the guys go and work somewhere else. Let your Airlinks, let your Safairs, let your lifts grow. And go and they will suck up.
They will create jobs.
They will, but they'll create real jobs.
Exactly.
I think SAA was sitting with, I don't know how many people sitting doing the same job, and nobody's doing the job. So and that was purely let's bring in some business. Let's employ South Africans. It's not the right way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think with SAA as well, if you look at those comments, it's not the loss of SAA as it is now that's such a tragedy. It's what it was. Everyone that comments talks about
the legacy,
what it was, and that airline never existed at the end. I was working in that same office there, and I can assure you it didn't exist at the end. Version 2 is not taking over now. It started taking over when Dudu Emieni was there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not what it used to be. We're not even close. And I think all these people that are holding on to it, they're holding on to that legacy. That legacy's gone. We speak about Lyft, and there's Comair as well. Comair being very cautious about how they're doing things, obviously. Typical Comair, which is great because we're confident that they're still going to be around because, man, we need the airlines around. Cemair are doing a good job as well. They seem to be growing strength to strength. They're starting to get the right people in the right positions. They're going to sort out certain areas. So there's big hopes for another good airline. Now, you're right, Ryan. You don't need another SAA. You don't. But there's a human element involved here, and that's what's so difficult. We saw it with ourselves at SAX. It wasn't. You miss the people, and those people without having jobs, it affects you.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that. And I think I really feel for the guys and girls at SAA that are in this position, but retrench them, give the packages, move on, and
don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to sound insensitive or whatever. It's just my view. So from someone who's decided to move on and let go of
and
all that.
Neutral.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you talk about legacies. I think the likes of Comair, Lyft and Airlink, and they are actually just building their own new legacies now. And it's going to be so nice to see in years to come where these airlines will say, we were knocked on our asses, but we stood back up and look at what we've got now without any government support or interference or any of that crap.
Ryan, you talk about this. I'm fascinated by this whole attachment to SAA. What the hell is wrong with people that you have to be so attached to anything in life? Things come and things go. SAA needs to go. Move on. find something else, do something else. If you're holding on to the things that you did, at 50 years old, I'm still telling stories about what it was like when I was 18, I got a problem. I need to sort that out. That's gone.
Yeah.
It's in my memory. It's in an experience. I can write it down. I can, hey, check this picture.
Some of those stories you probably shouldn't talk about.
No,
definitely
majority
not on the
of them. So people need to start letting go of things and move on with life. I mean, for goodness sake.
Yeah,
I agree, Brett. Yeah, look, I think it's going to happen, and good riddance. SA Express, we often chat about because closely tied there. Obviously, we work there. This whole debacle needs an entire podcast just dedicated to it because this crowdfunding story, Uprise Africa, if you can go and have a look who the CEO was there, and they were heavily involved with Skywise, which operated for about 13 minutes and 55 seconds. So why it was given to someone with a failed airline, who knows? But I hope that gets investigated as well, because it's very hush-hush at the moment. And again, call bullshit on it, because there's the government doing one thing with SAA. Yeah, we want the guys and girls to get their packages at SAA, for sure. But, our friends in that at SAX, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, half of the people couldn't get UIF at some point because they cocked up the bloody UIF forms, and a total debacle. No one gives a shit. So it's just ludicrous that they've got to have some. I just wish there was some fairness. This is what we're going to do with SAA. That's what we're going to do with SAX. I took a bit of heat this week from a few people about not supporting Mango, and. From one of the pilots that I actually knew, and I felt like reaching through the computer screen and gripping the oak's neck and saying, "Wake up, man." But anyway, I'll catch him one day.
You have to tell me more about that.
Yeah, I know. That's how I was the Murana.
But Mango was a...
No, but
man,
it's not... I want people to realize the company Mango and the pilots that fly for Mango, man, we are pro the pilots and the cabin crew and the operating staff that work at Mango.
Exactly.
The last thing we want to see is another airline losing their jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to kind of relate to, you've got SAA, SAX and Mango. SAX was treated one way, the worst. They were basically cut off at the head, leave, never want to see you again. Not going to get what you owed. You're not even going to think of giving you a severance package. Cheers. SAA, slightly different. They got a stronger union. Grant Back's been brilliant, I think, during this whole time. The way he's spoken, I think he speaks incredibly well.
He does.
Comes across the right way. He's got like a bit of pizzazz, the way he talks, and I think he's done really well. Then you got Mango, who are just left to operate. Now that's what I have a problem with. I'm happy if you're going to keep Mango. There's no issue. But then keep Mango properly. Give them the money that they need to operate as a proper airline to really compete with Safair and Comair and Lyft, because I don't really think they are right now.
But Mango is not competing. I mean, they're out there, but as you say, it's kind of like that pastel orange in the background, which you don't even take notice of. So they're not out there, they're not pushing things. And are they in the same situation as SAA pilots or SAX pilots?
Yeah, they are. Look, there are a lot of parallels and similarities that we see at Mango that what happened to us at SAX.
Exactly.
The nonsense, you read an article, AXA are going to stop them from operating because a bill hasn't been paid, and all those things. I mean, we've heard them year after year at SA Express.
They're still operating.
They are, but they either need to carry on operating properly or stop. And it's not... I just want to get it right here. This is not an attack on the pilots, the crew, and any operating staff, anyone even employed there. Those jobs are necessary. We need them. I mean, how many friends do we have flying at Mango?
Plenty.
And the last thing we want to see is them not having jobs.
Yeah.
But, man.
As cool as it is for them to be flying at the moment and everything, I can totally relate with the way those guys must be feeling on a day-to-day basis, because we felt like that at SA Express for the last 3 years, while the airline was running. It was a constant state of uncertainty. And in fact, to be quite honest with you, when it did all come to a grinding halt, it was a bit of a relief.
Big relief.
You know, okay, it's a clear-cut line that this is happening. It is no more. I can move forward. There was none of this grey area, which used to drive me nuts. So, yeah, it's probably why there's a heightened sense of sensitivity.
I'm just surprised that pilot is so sensitive, because if you just spend 5 minutes listening to the Bryan Air podcast from episode 1 in the dodgy studio to now, all we've done is support pilots, hosties, technical crew, travel industry. That's what we're here for. So
exactly.
Quite interesting there.
Yeah, we've done what we can, but obviously not everyone is
looking through the same lens.
No, and not everyone is so sharp as well, obviously. But anyway, guys,
talk about sharp before we, if you're going to close up.
Yeah, go.
Just something interesting from a Cemair perspective. I mean, we operational, so we fully operational. We got no holes barred. The same as with Cemair in France, in Paris as well. You know, that we've managed to get full authority that every pilot who comes there to train has 0 quarantine, just a negative test. That's it. So the guys they're fully operational there as well. And moving forward as well, we've got the first EASA and the only EASA approved MD-82 full flight sim sitting in France, which has just been recently been done.
Keeping the mad dog alive.
Yeah, I mean, EASA are working with Cemair to such an extent that we're getting certifications for UPRT on the 73s. Our online training system has been EASA approved now. So, you know, that's what I love about the Cemair group, is that they do not sit still for 1 second. They're pushing forward, and they're following, obviously, they want to do every single day something better. Obviously, they're following the Bryan Air podcast's way of doing things.
Incremental gains.
It's been a wonderful place to work, because it's kind of in line with our thinking, growing, expanding, improving along the way. So it's all been, in the same direction, which has been brilliant. As always, please go check out a few things. Go aviate.net, Jason Northwood's site. Brilliant. Check it out. Let's get people across there, particularly the pilots. It'll be nice to have a central network there where we can all chat, so that, you know, we can actually talk about these things in a forum of our own. It's really, really nice, and it's beautifully done. And as well, support us. If you want to support us, go check out Apple Podcasts is a great way. Give us a 5-star rating, and a review will help us a lot. It gets us that exposure. And the YouTube channel, of course, all the videos are on there. As you can see, putting in a bit of effort to the video side of things. And we're tying in, a lot of these videos are going to be tied into training and that here at Cemair as well. Not from the podcast side, but, you know, using the various equipment and that. So becoming very used to all these new bits of tech that we're using, but really enjoying it. And really enjoying the podcast. What are we on? 48 today.
It is 48.
48 today, yeah.
48.
Yeah.
So, 2 to go to that half century. That'll be a big one. Looking forward to that. And couldn't do this without the support to all the people that got hold of me this week. Thank you so much. And this episode's dedicated to all those people that went and clicked on Apple iTunes and on the YouTube and gave me a subscribe. Really do value your support, and look forward to bringing you an episode of the Bryan Air podcast every single week. Until next week, guys,
have a good one.
Cheers for now.
Cheers.